Be a film study look at one specific personnel group that I think everyone in the Ravens fan base was anticipating a heavy usage of in 2024, and that's 12 personnel. Starring Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. Charlie Kolar makes brief appearances, but typically he's on in 22 and 21 personnel. I think the Ravens 12 personnel group is very multiple and versatile. I'm going to show some data here in a moment that I believe kind of supports that. It's from Sumer Sports. I try to reference it in multiple videos and give them credit. I'm going to go through this from a conceptual standpoint in terms of the formation. So we'll do 2x2 formations first, basically flex, shotgun, where we're throwing the football a lot, 3x1 formations, either trips or bunch, and then some specific option or QB counter plays that the Ravens are using, I think, that have really boosted the yards per play from a run standpoint for the overall Ravens offense globally, but also for 12 personnel groupings. Let's get to the data that I want to reference here for a moment. It's a little bit of a misnomer with this graphic. I wanted to do this as a live stream Wednesday night, but tremendous difficulty setting up my live streams at this point. Perhaps I need some help. But in any case, you can see that the Ravens, this comes from Sumer Sports 2024 data. I will reference some 2023 data in this little setup here. 31%, 12 personnel usage, tops as far as our offensive output. It's the fourth most usage in the league. So there's three other teams using 12 personnel more, number one. Number two, last year in 2023, we were at like 11% usage, probably because Mark Andrews was out for so long at the end of the season and Isaiah Likely was shining. Check out the 11 personnel usage, only 29%, 32nd in the NFL, while the league average is 62%. We're getting away with our best two of our better wide receiver threats being tight ends. So from a salary standpoint, that's an interesting point that you can make there as well. Number two, we get to mix and match those two guys to the field and to the boundary, operating against nickel defenders or sometimes inside linebackers. Just like 2023, however, the EPA in two specific locations is highest for this Ravens offense, and that's 12 and 22 personnel pass plays. It's the one that says EPA pass. It should be the fourth column from the right for you. 12 personnel, 0.36. 22 personnel, 0.69. That one's probably skewed a little bit by the 55-yard touchdown, 55-yard pass to Charlie Kolar against the Bengals. But even our 22 heavy, or 22 jumbo, as I call it, I believe Sumer Sports is calling that 22 plus, all the way at the bottom side of the screen, basically the last row all the way across. The EPA pass for that one is 0.86 in a very small sample size, obviously only 5 plays. Point is, for 2 years in a row, the Ravens' best or most consistent, highest ranked, let's put it that way, in terms of EPA has been EPA pass out of 12 personnel or 22 personnel. 21 personnel as well in 2023 was one of the higher ranked in terms of EPA. You can see that this year the EPA rank is 8th for that. I think that's notable in terms of 12, 21, and 22 personnel. It's a huge asset to have 3 different tight ends you can use and a fullback like Ricard who can line up and play tight end, and in fact many times does. It kind of morphs what the formation can be depending on the personnel grouping. Looking at the data, just to go across a little bit, 12 personnel, we have the 4th highest usage, 2nd highest EPA. 21 personnel, 4th highest usage, 8th highest EPA. 22 personnel, which I did a video on last week. Again, I'd like to do live streams when I do personnel groupings. First usage across the NFL, in fact, highest for 20 personnel as well, and the 4th highest EPA for 22. I think there's something to be said for what we're getting out of it. Let's get to, in terms of 12 personnel, that is, but also in terms of just utilizing so many different guys at the tight end / fullback position. So we'll get this started with flex or 2x2 sets, which generally we're throwing the football more effectively out of. The 12 personnel run game is really boosted by the QB counter game and some of our option stuff and jet dive, which I'll get to a little bit later. So this is going to be a blitz replace. This is actually filmed from 2023. Blitz replace, the corner blitzing to the boundary. Lamar recognizes it. He played very well in 2023 in these situations where he's able to be in the shotgun and see blitzes coming. Additional to that, in 2024, I think he's playing really well with his, quote, back to the defense on those under center play action concepts that for a couple of years we heard people say he doesn't play well from that platform. I like having Likely and Andrews on different sides. I do feel like there is a natural advantage to whoever lines up to the boundary because they're often matched up with an inside linebacker unless or until the safety to the boundary spins down and helps out the coverage element to that side. You're going to get a little bit of a pick, rub, shield concept by Bateman, basically preventing the inside linebacker from dealing with that out. And the thing about Likely and Andrews to an extent, but I think Likely is at this point seems to have more consistent output is being able to make people miss yards after the catch, if you will. And that's the thing in these spread formations that I think offer so much from Likely being into the boundary. I'm cool with Andrews being into the boundary also. I think he should get the opportunities to work against some of those inside linebackers or safeties that drop down. Really nice little fake draw action here to Justice Hill, and then Lamar kind of floats it over the top to Mark Andrews, who makes a brilliant catch of a ball that perhaps Lamar could have put in a better spot. Raiders get kind of caught in this 5-1 look. Spillane is coming downhill. The draw action we had hit them with earlier, probably the reason why he reacted to it so heavily. I just feel like there's so many yards to just steal from defenses over there to the boundary from our 12 personnel spread sets. It's not that we don't attack to the field. I think our screen game has been amazing in 2024. I don't know what the yards per play or EPA would be on screens. I'd like to see someone have that kind of data, but this is to the field. It's a motion by Justice Hill right to left, and it's almost like the Bulls on parade. You get so many offensive linemen out in front here. I think the Bills are very fortunate that this didn't hit them bigger than it actually did. The screen game is like the third or fourth element that we have. We've got direct flow run concepts with Henry, pass game concepts that don't involve play action, option concepts whereby Lamar can keep it or give it, under center play action which I think has been extremely effective so far, and then the screens. It's almost like there's just too much for defenses to defend, and they almost are really prepared for nothing. It's a 3-by-1 set. I think Lamar recognized the coverage pre-snap and understood that he was getting a man coverage here. I think it's Battle against Andrews. I liked Battle when he came out for the draft a couple of years ago, but this is not a good matchup in the Bengals' favor at all. Inside linebackers are matching up with Likely, and Andrews wins pretty cleanly. I don't know that I give you the end zone angle to this one. I do want to address something that I think will probably come up in the comment section of this video. Yes, Rashad Bateman is open a lot. There are often times where he is open, and this is one that I look at, and I'm glad that Lamar saw this pre-snap and recognized that it was man, knew the guy he wanted to go to. I have no complaint about Bateman not being targeted. However, it's man, and if we do get the ball to him, this might be over. Like there is just a very real element whereby he is winning, and he's winning. It's not just that Bateman is winning or getting open consistently. He's getting open by large margins, in my opinion. If you ask me, you guys have to let me know what you think of that idea. So another 3-by-1 set, just like the last play against the Bengals, a bunch where we have one tight end to the right and one tight end to the left. And I think whoever it was a commenter said probably was correct. The Bengals are making it look like a double team up here on Andrews to the top, and it's just really difficult for defenses to match up with all of the threats that we have. If you are going to double team Andrews, or at least make it look like you're going to, you kind of vacate an area of the field. Well, guess what happens on this play? The area of the field that Logan Wilson would generally be lined up in is pretty much right here, where Sam Hubbard is lined up at. The Bengals have done this under Lou for a couple of years, utilized Sam Hubbard as a blitzer from an inside linebacker alignment. Kind of got a little bit tricky here. It came back to haunt them. If you ask me, it's a 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. Zay just absolutely tormented their secondary in that game. Looking back, if you're a Bengals fan or a member of the Bengals coaching staff, obviously they're not listening to this video, but if they were to go back and look at the game now and think about what to do coverage-wise, I don't think they would leave Zay Flowers so many open opportunities in the middle of the field. I love this concept. It's such a diverse attack out of 12 personnel. Or it's not that our 11 personnel isn't diverse, don't get me wrong, but we have so many concepts installed in here. This really seems to be an offense that attempted to do so many things in 2023 at times. Many people, myself included, said it appears as if we are like a jack of all trades and a master of nothing. And in 2023, lo and behold, by mid-season or a little bit earlier, maybe around the same time period, the offense started to sharpen up and be able to execute a really wide array of concepts. Maybe that's what Todd Monken, one of the things about Todd Monken's offense that you have is that he asks the offensive players, the offensive staff, to be able to do so many things upon command that there is a, quote, learning curve at the beginning of each season. I don't know. This is just speculation here. I really love the one-man screen as a part of a route combination. So you've got, oftentimes this is a fullback that's out here leading, but because we have 12 personnel on the field, we're doing this with Likely, who's a guy with tremendous potential as a pass receiver, big play guy, who's also blocking well. I won't say perfectly, but blocking well so far in 2024. I like the usage. I like the deployment, I guess I should say. Both tight ends on the same side often happens. And this is a play from last week's win against Washington. Talked about it, broke it down a lot. We end up isolating or splitting this safety with routes by Andrews. And then I think it's Likely kind of carrying his route to like the R. And that it's quarter, half, or cover 6, if you ask me. And so Lamar is just reading that safety who goes with Likely, unfortunately for Washington, basically leaves Andrews open. It's a great throw by Lamar. Great, if you ask me, it's great accuracy because he's throwing it, I think, away from this safety because he understands this safety's back is turned. Maybe he didn't process that portion of it, but that safety is certainly hedging over towards Likely. He's removed himself from the ability to react. The only safety that could make a play was the backside safety, downside safety on our screen. That's a 3rd and 8. I think that was a big play. 3rd and goal from the 8, I should say. We're going to get motion to trips. I'm going to put something out on my Patreon. I wanted to do it last night, but I spent like 2 hours trying to set up the live stream unsuccessfully. And so I was unable to produce that via live stream, number one. Number two, I want to put out a video on trips closed. Anything trips or bunch to one side with the ball on the opposite hash, to ball on the right hash, and then the running back and the tight end set to the boundary. To me, this might be our best formation from a yards per play standpoint. My database, my online database is woefully behind in terms of tracking. You do have 2 tight ends on the field. That's the whole point of the video, 12 personnel. We can run any number of concepts down here to the boundary. In this case, we've got Likely just kind of sitting down. We're almost making it look like 4 to one side because we've got Henry in the flats. Really 2 clear out routes, and I think Zay is just kind of carrying this safety. And as a result, it leaves Andrews on the sail concept to the top side. Far throw from Lamar from the other hash, all the way up to the field. Lofted throw wide because Andrews is just wide open on the play. I love trips closed. I'm very interested in it. Was a pain for me to defend as a defensive coordinator, try to prepare for it. And I think that it's causing problems for defenses as well. If Likely was to continue his route all the way over here, it would damn near be 5 to a side post snap. But in any case, I think it's a 38-yard gain to Andrews. There's so many chunk plays in this offense. So the yards per play might be a slightly inaccurate way to evaluate the offense at times because we have so many 24-yard gains, 38-yard gains in this case. Number one. Number two, I love how we threaten with the run game to the boundary. You've got a lot of options here. We have the play where we arc release Likely out to the edge, and then we run the same side zone action to the boundary. So on that type of concept, we're trying to take this 3 technique down and get him moving in this direction so that Henry can hit this thing downhill off of that down block, potentially take it front side as well. Basically, we have a mirror image of a formation that we used twice in the Dallas game to great success. In fact, we also, and I'll go over this one in a moment, revealed the QB pin pull pitch, which was sick in this game against Washington. The boundary side attack out of trips close, I'm just fascinated by. I love the protection that we're utilizing often, whereby the running back is going through what I consider to be a predetermined gap, and the tackle only has to win to the top side because he knows he has help down here. Less help afforded to the guard to that side, obviously, but it's the side opposite the running back. So I'm a big fan of that particular pass pro scheme. I do wonder if moving forward, if teams are going to see trips closed and start to bring some blitz action through that B gap to the field to try to put our running backs in a pass pro situation. All right, we're going to move forward to a different element or different dynamic. It's the jet dive action. Now, I do unfortunately have to use a 22 and a 21 personnel play in order to set this up. So this is technically 22 personnel. I think it's inconsequential that Ricard is on here in terms of the point of attack. It's a jet sweep, first play of the game, in fact, against the Bengals. Kolar and Likely on the field. 9-yard gain to Zay Flowers. Really like stealing money, if you ask me. End zone angle, same play. What I love about this is that you've got built-in split flow. So the jet by Flowers is going right to left on our screen, right to left for the offense. And then Henry oftentimes is going in the opposite direction. Now, there is a play here that we'll show a little later where Henry goes to that motion and then brings it back. It's basically called split zone. But generally what you're getting is split flow here. And the key for me is this. The split flow is two players not named Lamar Jackson. Because then I feel like it opens up Lamar almost almost like a guy who's opposite the pick and roll in the NBA, meaning he's not the guy with the ball in his hand. He's not the guy setting the screen, but he's executing some action that's off ball away from the play, and the defense is initially focused on defending the pick and roll. In this case, that would be the jet and the dive. And then oftentimes that third player, that action that's off the ball, ends up being a real killer. And it's not the case on this particular play. By the way, we're leaving Trey Hendrickson unblocked, a fantastic football player that maybe he won't be there the next time we play the Bengals. It sounds weak to say that, but if he was offloaded to a team like the Lions or something like that, it would certainly help us not having to deal with him, even though they drafted Miles Murphy and Joseph Asai's a talented football player as well. Let me know what you guys think of the jet dive action as I related it to Lamar. It is creating offensive angles and opportunity for players where Lamar Jackson doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to execute any concepts, and that's why I love it so much. This is actually 12 personnel. You have both tight ends to the top side of the field. Again, you've got the jet by Zay Flowers, and then opposite of that is the dive action by Derrick Henry. Lamar with the play fake to him, going to flip it out into the flats to Zay. Again, there's nothing for Lamar to execute here. He doesn't have to do anything. Well, he makes a very nice throw with pressure in his face from a blitzing DB, in fact. But that's what I really like about the jet dive series specific to the Ravens. It provides Lamar opportunities to not have to execute anything, not have to do anything special, and we can still get things accomplished. On jet dive action, I have us being tremendously effective so far this year. Again, I'm getting away with one by including this play in a 12 personnel video. We certainly could accomplish it out of 12 personnel, but nonetheless, I have to admit, it is 21. That is Ricard up here to the top side. His formational alignment is as a tight end / wing. So I understand if you say, well, Coach, that's actually 22 personnel, or it's actually 12 personnel. No, it's not. He's listed as a fullback. He doesn't run tight end routes. The point is we can execute it out of multiple personnel groupings. You've seen 3 of them, 12 or 22 personnel, first play of the game against the Bengals, 12 personnel, the jet play action to Flowers against the Bengals as well. And then here we are, 20 personnel this past week. And it's the aforementioned play that's jet with the split zone cutting back against the grain after initial flow with the jet motion by Henry. So you see Henry's going with the motion at first, but it's a designed cutback. Bobby Wagner and the inside linebacker, or the other inside linebacker for Washington, don't play in combination together on this particular snap. Flowers picks up Frankie Lavu. I'll get to the end zone angle so you can see what I'm saying. I just want to run it one more time so you can see the action of Flowers and Henry. And then now the split flow, the guy moving the opposite direction is Ricard. So conceptually, you kind of still have the same thing because it's a designed wind back, and Filele gets a really nice block on a defensive tackle, if you ask me. Ends up being an easy touchdown run for Derrick Henry. Same play, end zone angle. There's the jet. Ricard is going to be the guy going in the opposite direction. Pay attention to Lavu and then Wagner. They really split this action, and you don't want your inside linebackers to behave in that manner generally. There's times where it is called for, but you can see what's happened. Lavu has allowed himself to get blocked here, and now Rosengarten has been able to easily close off Wagner, who essentially stepped himself out of the play. The split zone action in between the down block of Falele and the kick out block by Ricard, which is a cut, a nasty cut at that, creates an easy 7-yard touchdown. Jet dive action, I think, is going to continue to produce results for this Ravens offense. Okay, so we're going to move on to another type of play that Monken uses out of 12 personnel. And I think this is really what's pushing the yards per carry, the yards per play, and run action, that is, run concepts, up higher out of 12 personnel. And that's QB counter read. Now, there's some times where I believe it's not called necessarily. It's not read necessarily. Lamar is, in fact, reading this one. He's reading Trey Hendrickson. So he's super fired up at the end of this play, man. Like, there's something at this moment. I forget where this was necessarily in terms of gameplay, but it got Lamar going, and I love it. Hubbard's going to wrong arm this. There's the two pulling linemen, Macari and Stanley. So Hubbard wrong arms this, so he's going to go underneath of the initial block by Macari. And what it does is it causes Stanley to kind of bow out a little bit. And you'll see his athleticism. He's able to skip past it, skip through it over the top so he doesn't get caught on Macari's ankles or feet. And Lamar is able to follow him or push him, really, let's be accurate, for a pretty big gain down the right-hand side. I think it's 32 yards. Lamar is reading this one correctly. There's times where it's appropriate to have it called. And in fact, you guys, if you pay attention to my content often, I think that to the boundary, it should just be an auto keep sometimes and let Lamar outrun the DN because there won't be a nickel defender there in support. Same play, week one, except the opposite side. Two tight ends on the field, one of them to the field, one of them to the boundary. Twin slot A out of 12 personnel. The one where the nickel defender lays a pretty big shot on Lamar. Theoretically could have been a helmet to helmet. I think it's 27 coming across the field. Lamar gets the first down. Give you the end zone angle on this. The reason why I'm showing you a lot of this is because the 12 personnel offensive attack in and of itself is extremely diverse, let alone introducing 21, 22, 11, and some of the other stuff that we do out of 22 jumbo. Mark Andrews is going to do the same thing to this defensive end. I think it's Dana that he's done for 4 or 5 years on these types of plays. He'll step to him and then widen up. So basically he's just stepping to him for a moment to make that guy think he's going to get pinned down. And then the kick out comes in the form of Falele. Again, they wrong arm it. Lamar is able to bounce it outside of that wrong arm. Rosengarten reads it as well. Goes and gets Tranquil. It's like an 8 or 9 yard gain. Effective into the boundary, really puts defenses in conflict. Moving on to a different type of, quote, option play. I'm calling this a dual read, even though I think on these unbalanced plays, Lamar is reading it and likely is not. So the unbalanced nature of it is that the three linemen on the right that are marked, as you see, Falele, Macari, and then Stanley. And then backside, we've got a guard. I think it's Voorhees and Andrews. I don't think Likely is reading this, to be honest with you. There's the two tight ends, by the way, on opposite sides. I don't think Likely's reading this. I think it's an auto loop by Likely, but Lamar is reading it. So he's reading Parsons, and Likely is just basically acting as bait on a potential keep out the left side, which is what Lamar does. If you remember, this is first possession, 9-yard touchdown, really showed that the Cowboys were woefully unprepared for so many of our run concepts, at least in the first 3 quarters. Same exact play used against Washington. Same exact setup. There's your two tight ends. Andrews to the downside, the backside of Unbalanced, because you've got guard, tackle, and then Likely, I don't believe is reading this at all. It's just an auto loop. He goes to get the first guy that shows up at the second level, and you've got a huge lane. Andrews, I think this is the one where he wants Lamar to go to the outside. I think what he's telling Lamar is, hey, I'm dealing with this guy, and I'm going to try to turn him. Just take it to the outside, and when you get the end zone angle, you'll see what I'm talking about. Lamar and Andrews kind of communicate post-snap a little bit, and Lamar just kind of claps his hands like, okay, maybe I missed one there. There used to be this kind of like tell when we were in Diamond. So what I mean is you would get one tight end whose feet were here, one tight end whose feet were here, and then a tailback who was set behind Lamar. And you could still kind of tell the direction of the read based on the width of one of the tight ends. Basically, they'd be closer. Isaiah Likely is really close here, and I think that's part of the reason why I'm saying to you that he's not reading it at all. Now, that defensive end Fowler kind of makes the read really easy, stepping down to take Derrick Henry. Wagner doesn't do a good job at all of getting over the top, basically scrape exchanging it. But to his defense, we do have an unbalanced line over here. So Wagner's got to be worried or cognizant of Henry trying to take this to the front side, and Washington needs him there to help support that, basically create a numbers advantage for them at the point of attack such that even Derrick Henry's greatness can't overcome. But in any case, he gets held up for a moment by hesitating to see who's got the football. Lamar's reading it, Likely is not. It's a fantastic usage of 12 personnel. Have to give credit to Todd Monken from the standpoint of how many things he's getting done in this offense out of 12 personnel. People were not wrong when they said that 12 personnel will be a huge weapon for this offense in 2024. From a passing game standpoint, from a run game standpoint, this play I did not expect. This one really caught me off guard. So it's 12 personnel, and we motion to trips or bunch, really. And we've got all kinds of plays that we run down here. I kind of diagrammed one of them earlier. The arc release by the tight end, Andrews, reading this defensive end. It's actually Frankie Lavu, an inside linebacker, walked up, and then blocking all of these guys in here with this edge player being the read man. So Lamar would either keep it, and if he does, he oftentimes keeps it around the edge. You get the tight end, Likely or Andrews, blocking the corner or a safety, and it looks like pure chaos for the defense. They do this in another way. They accomplish basically the same thing. They pin, pull, pitch it, essentially, with the lead blocker being the running back who would get the ball on pin, pull, pitch. This is stealing money. I don't know how you defend this from a formational standpoint. Well, I guess the one thing you do is you don't walk your Mike linebacker over. You keep him so where he can support to the inside from an inside-out angle. So as the ball is kept, you get someone who scrapes over the top inside out and ends up being unblocked, theoretically, and can make the tackle. Still, we're going to get the first down. Still, you've got to finish the play. Credit to Monken. He's got, I think, 3 different offensive attacks in this 12 personnel group. You've got the pass game out of flex, shotgun 2x2 or 3x1 formations. You got the jet dive and some of its associated complementary plays that I think are still yet to be revealed. And then the option game stuff that is really puzzling and causing defenses tremendous amount of consternation and really putting them back on their heels. No one is blitzing in some of those looks that we're showing, and I think that's important, number one. Number two, it also will be interesting to see who's the first team that does. I do know this. Tampa Bay likes to be aggressive. They did just return Cansey, their young second-year defensive tackle, so he'll be a nice matchup for our offensive line to go along with Vita Vea. Bowles likes to play aggressive. Seen him play against the Lions the last couple of years in terms of watching the game and doing some previews and film study videos thereafter. They like to be aggressive. There will be opportunities for the Ravens receivers and tight ends to make plays this game. I like our chances against this defense, to be honest with you, even though I respect Tampa Bay and I think they're very good. And I really like a lot of the things that Bowles and Tampa Bay does on defense. Nonetheless, 12 personnel is going to continue to be a huge matchup problem for NFL defenses in 2024, as long as both of those two guys on screen stay healthy. Appreciate you guys' time, man. Let me know what you think of the video in the comment section. If you enjoyed this one, first of all, please let me know. Second of all, please comment below. That drives the videos being pushed out to larger audiences. It basically helps videos perform better and generate more revenue for us as content creators. So if you did enjoy it, please comment below. And then finally, if you think other Ravens fans would appreciate and enjoy this content as well, please consider grabbing a link to it, sharing it out on social media to help this video get more reach.